All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Saturday, February 22nd on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson, and this is brought to you by Rogue Sports Network on All In Horns. And Jake, we have a fun episode for the people today. We're going to give a brief little, this was kind of just recently added to our list, and it's just a fun little topic. Won't spend too much time on it, but Texas is going to be on a video game, and it's not going to be a college video game. It'll be MLB The Show, so you'll get to be able to play Texas Longhorn baseball on your whatever gaming device you choose, but or is it just PS5? Because I knew the show used to be just PlayStation exclusive.
Man, they might have added it to X. I have a PS5, so it's really not of concern for me.
It's no concern to you or I, because we are PS5 guys.
But yeah, wherever MLB Show the 5 is available, you will be able to play as Texas. It is on Xbox. It's actually on Nintendo Switch. I can't imagine that's a good experience. I have a Switch, but that's not the type of game I'd be playing on it. But on Xbox and PlayStation, Xbox fans, I don't know if they deserve that. I feel like that was like a big leg up PlayStation had.
Yeah.
But yeah, Texas on the game along with Cal State Fullerton, TCU, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Tennessee, UCLA, LSU. Details are kind of limited right now, but it seems like it's going to be like on your player career mode.
Yeah.
You'll start in college, probably play. It's 8 teams, so you're probably playing Omaha, which will be really cool. If they have the actual Omaha Stadium, which I think they do. And so you'll play the College World Series with one of those teams.
And hearing the metal bats will be really cool, because typically you don't get that in any of the MLB games. And so I remember they did this in Madden. Geez, I don't know what Madden it was, but it was while we were in our drought of college football NCAA games, and they added Texas. I think it was USC, Miami, into the 14 playoff, and you actually went through the 14 playoff in your career mode, and then you obviously got drafted. They did that one year, and I played just that one snippet of the career mode probably 50 times over, just so I could play what looked like college football in Madden mode. But hey, you could do the same thing. And Jake, by the way, while we're on the topic, bring back college baseball video games. That was a thing, by the way. It was like what, college NCAA baseball 05?
MVP baseball 05. That game ruled.
Awesome game. Bring it back.
Yeah, I actually, I've been getting a little more into baseball. The pitch clock change really made the changes I needed to be more excited by baseball. And some old heads didn't like it, but hey, it brought someone in who did not watch basically any MLB I have pretty religiously watched all the playoff games and a little bit more regular season, even the last couple seasons since that's been brought in. And I continue to kind of get more into it and really liking it. And I'm probably going to actually buy this. I used to love MLB The Show. I got one back in I think most recent was 22. And I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah. I'm definitely going to get this one since they added the college part into it.
I can't remember the last time I actually owned a baseball game. I did buy last year. I bought the 2K23 PGA game. I did buy that. That was pretty awesome. I can't remember the last time I bought a hockey game and owned a hockey game. I know hockey games are really, really fun. But yeah, and then I haven't bought, the last time I bought Madden was a long time ago, just because Madden's gone downhill so much.
I tried it 2 years ago and it was unplayably bad.
I think the last one I got was the first time Patrick Mahomes was on the cover, which was 2000 or something like that. It was 2020, 2019, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was 19.
Yeah, that was the last Madden that I purchased. But I'm always looking for a good sports game. Sports games just they haven't hit the way they did whenever I was a kid, because they've gotten rid of so many cool little nuanced details that they've just kind of lost touch, and then it kind of lost that personal value to it. I think we're kind of starting to make a come up a little bit. I kind of,
college football is there. Yeah. Madden's got a long way to go, but that's fine. I get my football itch from college football. I still have fun with the NHL games. EA just needs to make a new freaking engine. They're still using Frostbite that they've been using for like 14 years.
Same thing, yeah.
But
It's starting
MLB
to
The
feel like
Show,
Madden, where it's just the same thing.
yeah, the golf games have been a great addition back in. I'm gonna get this MLB The Show and hopefully really enjoy it. And maybe we can get a college baseball, college basketball game back.
College basketball game would be awesome. We need a March
Yes.
Madness. I haven't played a March Madness game since Kevin Love was on the cover with UCLA, and so I need.
And I'd
something.
seen rumblings about it.
I have too. I've and I don't know if those are just make believe rumors that people are starting, fans that are just kind of putting it out there. But hey, that's how NCAA football started, and we got that back. So I'm not gonna close the door completely on getting a March Madness game back.
Just release for college baseball and college basketball, you get away with just doing it once every 2 or 3 years and sell the absolute crap out of it.
Yeah. You know what they did a really good job of back in the day was the FIFA World Cup games. They would come out with just the World Cup games, and you had the international games, and you would play the entire World Cup tournament.
You and I played the crap out of that game as kids.
I think it was the 2009, 2008 FIFA World Cup game. My God, I think I destroyed that disc. I ran it so many times, but it was awesome. And it was different than FIFA. It was a different game entirely. And so,
yeah,
if they do that,
other than the fact that you still just only use Messi. That's all I remember.
Okay, I
just forever remember your Argentina run where you only scored with Messi.
I'm pretty sure I won a World Cup with Argentina, and I think I had 30 goals with Messi throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you beat whoever I was playing. I made it to the World Cup final, which was rare for me because you were better than me at soccer games.
Yeah.
And then you beat me, and it was just Messi scoring everything.
every single time. And Didier Drogba for God, who was it? Was it Netherlands that he played for?
No, it wasn't Netherlands. It was like
South Africa or some sort of.
Yeah. I think it was one of the African teams.
One of the African. It was one of the Islander African teams. I can't remember what it was, but anyway. We've gotten off topic, Jake. Let's go ahead and jump into. We're gonna start ranking once a week. We're gonna bring in a new segment leading up into the draft. This week, we're going to do running backs. Jake and I have watched some film, done some studies, read some reports, done our own. I've done my own scouting. I can't speak for Jake. I've done my own scouting on which running backs I like, and I've ranked them 1 through 10. Jake probably looked at a list somewhere and just copy pasted. It's probably how he scouted.
Oh man, you just
what?
You think I'm just making a list and I'm not watching the film?
I don't think you're checking it twice. And you're not seeing who's naughty or nice.
Well, first off, you literally decided to do this the day of recording.
That's not
and
true.
Yet that is true.
I told you I was watching running backs like a week ago.
Oh, hey, I'm watching running back. No part of that did you say we were going to do that as a segment. Until I just looked at the doc and went, "Oh, we're doing running backs."
I didn't realize I had no intention of you joining in. I thought it was just going to be like, "Hey, I'll give you some running backs, and then you can comment on them, whatever."
How can I comment on something that I haven't watched? Exactly. Unlike you, I don't just look at lists and copy and paste.
Oh my God! Okay, all right. He has a list. I have a list. We've scouted some running backs. We'll give you our top 10 and really just kind of break down the position going into the draft this year. And we're going to do that once a week with a different position. So next week, we've already established linebackers. So I'll give you ample time to maybe turn on some film.
Thank you, my gracious podcast host, Lord. We're going to become Mike and Mike. I'm just not even going to be able to look at you when we're not recording.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I will grant you the permission to watch some linebacker film leading up to.
I'm going to start posting my PayPal so people can send me donations for having to deal with you.
But we'll do this every Saturday leading up into the draft, a different position every week until obviously it is draft time. And then we'll kind of give a big board, and then we'll probably do a live reaction or something to the draft because we're big draft nerds. Anyway, we'll figure all that out when the time comes. But that is the plan for today. And then we will end the show off with just very brief Texas, South Carolina talk later on this afternoon. just win. You should win. If you don't win, the season's over, or I'm declaring it over. But anyway, Jake, let's go ahead and get into these running backs. I'm going to list mine off. How do you want to do this, Jake? What's the best plan of attack? Name off the 10. You do 10, I do 10, and then we kind of give a little synopsis.
Maybe do 5, like 5 and 5,
And
and then 5 and 5.
Should we do a little bit of like why we like them and where they're ranked, or get into that later?
Yeah, just like a little blurb on what you like them, kind of what your overall grade is on them, so you can kind of hear the different. Like for me, there's a drastic difference in like the grade of my top running back down to just my second.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. Well, Jake, I'll go ahead and start things off, and I'll go 1 through 5. I've got the same number 1 running back as everybody else does, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. I've got him a 7 out of 10. 10 for me, a 10 is this is the best prospect, going to end up winning Rookie of the Year, probably a Hall of Fame type player. So I've got a 7 out of 10. I have him going in the top 25. He's the only first round grade that I have at the running back position in what is a very deep position this year. I just think there's probably only going to be one that goes. I really like his ability to kind of stay square to the defense. He's a decisive, patient runner, makes himself small, fits through holes. I really liked what he did against Penn State in the playoff game, and that was probably the best defensive front. Them and Oregon are the 2 best defensive fronts that he faced, and he had great games against both of them. And so never averaged less than 5 yards per carry in a season. He logged over 150 carries every season that he played. He was the 2-time Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year award winner, Maxwell Award winner, All-American, all the things, all the accolades. I do think he is boomer bust, though. I think he has some boomer bust traits. I'm not saying he's just the next Barry Sanders. I do think his size, I do think the caliber of competition that he played against might be a little bit of an adjustment. He's 5'9", 215. So we'll see with Ashton Jeanty, but I do have him after what he did this year. I can't not respect his game enough to not have him number 1 overall. My number 2 running back, Jake, I think actually a lot of people may not have this high, but I watched 3-4 games of his, and every game I watched him, I liked him more and more. Caleb Johnson from Iowa, 6 foot, 225. Love his size. I gave him a 6.8 out of 10. Early second round pick. I think he'll be the second running back to go. Has great balance. He ran a pro style at Iowa, so I think that's going to translate well. He had a bad offensive line at Iowa, and he still made a lot of things happen. His run style, to me, Jake, reminds me of DeMarco Murray. And if people turn on the film and actually watch him, they might see the same thing. But I see that kind of tall runner, big build, strong body, able to take every down punishment. I think I see him as a 3-down back. He kind of has a Jonathan Taylor type game to him as well. Third running back on my list, also very close to Caleb Johnson. Honestly, if you wanted to switch Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, I wouldn't argue with you. I think they're very similar backs. I think they both have they display a similar skill set. I think Omarion Hampton might be a little bit better in pass pro. I think he's probably the best pass pro running back that I've seen so far, and I'm still going to watch more running backs. But I do think Omarion Hampton probably has the best pass protection skill set in this year's class. He's 6'1", 220. I also gave him a 6.8 early to mid second round pick, patient runner. But here's number 4, Travion Henderson from Ohio State. I gave him a second round grade, 6.6. So just a couple notches below those other 2 guys. Quick, shifty, good agility. I liked him better than his counterpart, Quinshon Judkins. I like that he played all 4 years. He bookended his Ohio State career. His best year was his freshman year. Second best year was his senior year. So had a little bit of an injury issue and some just schematic issues with the coaching staff that didn't really suit his skill set to the best of its ability until Chip Kelly got there. And then I have Quinshon Judkins as my number 5 running back out of Ohio State. I have a pretty significant drop. I gave Henderson a 6.6 grade out of 10. I gave Judkins 6.2 grade and a third round projection going into the draft. And so a pretty significant drop off from 4 to 5.
Yeah. So just first off, a little insight. If I were to give a player 10 out of 10, that doesn't mean I think they're necessarily going to be a Hall of Famer. To me, it means they're a for sure all pro level player, starter in the NFL, and have the they're the type of prospect that has the ability to be potentially a Hall of Fame type of career.
Yeah.
But so
and everybody's grading scale is different. Everybody goes based on kind of their own, whatever makes sense in their own head.
yeah, and I am open to changing mine as I continue to start to grade. I've always kind of ranked players, never really put a exact grade on it, so that's a little bit of a change for me. But I have the same 5 players in the top 5, slightly different order, very different grades, at least at the top. I think Ashton Jeanty is by far the best prospect in the running back class. I think it's him, and then I think you drop down, and then I think from there, like 2 to 10, pretty like solid, just solid class of a bunch of guys that have potential to be starting running backs. Some boomer bust. One special project I really like that isn't in the top 5. But I am higher on than a lot of people that we'll get to in my bottom 5. But I have JT number 1. Like I said, you're going to notice I'm at an 8.75 out of 10. Against Penn State, a lot of people are going to look at you and go, he didn't play good, because they're just going to box score watch and look at yards per rush. No. He forced 10 missed tackles in that game against a very good front. When your blocking is terrible, your yards per rush isn't going to look overly impressive. But he was creating a lot just on his own in that game. He did that all the time, regardless of level of competition, and just his ability to stay balanced, to play with power. He has good speed, maybe not the craziest breakaway speed, but he has enough speed to make big plays at the NFL level. He has the vision to make big plays at the NFL level. He has the ball skills out of the receiving the ball out of the backfield to make plays at the NFL level. To me, he has everything you need to make big plays at the NFL level. Just for him, you have to hope that you go to any running back wants to make sure they go to a decent scheme and a decent, offensive line at the NFL level. But to me, he's about as surefire of a starting running back at the very least in the NFL as you're going to get. To me, Bijan would probably still be the best running back prospect I've seen in the last decade. I'll say 5 years, just because when you go back a decade, it's a long way. Well, but JT for me would be number 2.
I mean, Zeke was almost a decade ago.
Exactly. And so, I think him and Bijan are 2 of the best prospects since I've really started nerding out in the draft that I've seen at running back. 2, you're not going to argue with me because you said you want it. I have Amarian Hampton. I just think he's a little bit more of a complete back than Caleb Johnson.
Right. You're probably right.
I have both them at a 6.9 out of 10.
It's weird that we both gave them the same grades for each player, because I like Caleb Johnson.
I would maybe put Johnson at a 6.85 instead of 6.9, just to give a little separation. And the reason why is just I think Hampton's a little bit better in pass pro, a little bit more to him in the passing game, mainly because a lot of the things that with Johnson are schematic or Iowa problems.
Sure.
But his traits are awesome. And I think he may have a little bit of a higher ceiling than Hampton. They both have great frames to work with. They both have the frames to be a starting back and take a lot of carries. I think Johnson is a little bit more explosive than Hampton, but Hampton still has that explosiveness there. But for me, these are both guys that, I would be excited to have come on a team that I root for, just because I think they have a good chance to be complete starting backs.
I like
in the
that
NFL.
You said that real quick, Jake. I do want to preface some of my other picks too. Is a lot of the times whenever I have a tie or 2 very similar players in terms of grades or whatever, I kind of go, okay, if the Dallas Cowboys were on the clock and their pick was between Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton, if I had to flip a coin and say who I want them to take, what name would I say first? That's typically who I go with. It's like it split second, no thinking, just put a name out there. I'm going to put that player just slightly above them because I want my team to draft them ahead of who I have.
But I wouldn't be mad if they took the other guy.
Absolutely not. No.
And that's where they are to me. They're pretty even. And then I do have Travion Henderson, then Judkins. I thought I was going to like Judkins more than I ended up liking him. Once I actually dove into, I have him at a 6.25, so right around where you had him. 6.5 for Henderson, so again, right around where you had him. Judkins has better traits than Henderson does, other than speed and explosives. But Judkins really relied on his talent and his ability versus showing. Trying to think of the best way to say this, just like the actual football traits and production that you would like to see out of someone that has his talent.
I think Travion Henderson has a better football IQ than
sure.
Judkins.
And Judkins just sometimes he just run into contact. His elusive ratings and his missed tackles ratings were all much lower than I was thinking. And there to me, there's a lot of red flags, and he's a big boomer bust prospect, in my opinion, and not someone I would, you look at it, he's probably going to get taken in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't know. That's someone I'd want to flip the coin on in the 3rd or 4th round, but he could also end up being a superstar. And Henderson, for me, the biggest concern is injuries. He had, he's hurt sophomore and junior year. He's a home run hitter. I worry about his ability to run between the tackles long term.
Smaller frame, 5'10", 208.
Yeah, and so a little bit smaller, but he does have that home run ability, and he is fast. And if he gets to the second level, he can just be gone.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that if I were him, I'd be wanting to go to San Francisco, Los Angeles Rams, Kansas City Chiefs, somewhere that's going to know how to utilize his skill set the best.
My Jake, I'll go ahead and give 6 through 10 real quick. And I really thought I was going to like this player a little bit more. I don't know. I production wise, numbers wise, it looks great. But when I actually watch him play, it feels like it's 3 really big plays, big yardage plays. That's where he got all of his numbers. And then his other 10 carries are 1-2 yards at a time. And I don't know if I absolutely love that in a player. But I really thought I was going to like Dylan Sampson a lot more. I have him as my number 6 running back, gave him a 5.8 out of 10. 3rd round grade, could easily see him dropping into the 4th, depending on kind of where he measures in the combine and pro days and things like that. And so, that's kind of where I have Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Then I have Cam Scatterbo. I think this is going to be the biggest controversial guy in this year's draft. I think there are going to be scouts. There are going to be TV personalities. There's going to be coaches and GM. There's going to be probably GMs and owners that like Cam Scatterbo more than coaches do, or vice versa. But I think you're going to get some people that might absolutely love Cam Scatterbo, and then you're going to get people like me who just aren't going to buy into that hype. But I have him at number 7. He did put up a great season. He put up one great season in college football. I don't know if I can trust him to do that in the NFL level. He's not quick enough to break away from, speed-wise from linebackers and defensive linemen in the league, edge to edge, sideline to sideline. I don't think he has that speed to beat Fred Warner to the corner. I just don't see that happening. I also don't see the power to run over defensive backs and smaller defenders in the league. He's this in-between guy. Maybe loses a little bit of weight, gets faster, or puts on more weight, comes a Mike Allstott, and is just a power guy. I feel like he needs to pick one or the other and figure it out. But I have him as my number 7 guy. Number 8, Devin Neal out of Kansas. He got bigger. I felt like his freshman, sophomore year, I felt he was like this really small, quick guy. He actually has a decent frame now. He's got an NFL frame, and I think him coming back his junior, senior year really benefited him in terms of getting NFL ready. 5'11", 215, same build as Cam Scatterbo, by the way. Just looks leaner. Gave him the exact same grade, 5.7, as I did with Scatterbo. I just think Devin Neal has a better home run threat at the next level. I think his game translates better to the NFL more than Cam Scatterbo. However, I have Scatterbo ranked ahead of him. that might change. I don't know. DJ Giddens from K-State is my number 9 guy. Really like DJ Giddens from Kansas State. He has a lot of deficiencies when it comes to blocking, pass game, things of that nature that don't just involve north and south running. But if you get him north and south running, the dude can run, and he will run through some guys. And he's got a big frame. Love his frame, 6'1", 212. He's a strong back, hard to take down, just, arm tackles, isn't going to go down on first contact, always falling forward. Love the effort, love the drive. But when it comes to sideline play, when it comes to the receiving game, when it comes to the pass pro, he has some deficiencies. He falls short in a lot of those areas. And so that's why I kind of gave him the nod. But I do actually like him. But I think I have him going 4th round, could possibly fall to the 5th. And then one of my favorite names in this year's draft, Bashul Tootin from Virginia Tech. He's got a great story. I think a lot of people will be actually rooting for the guy. Started his college career, Jake, at North Carolina A&T for the Aggies, where he started 1 game his freshman year. But he went for 1,363 yards and 13 touchdowns his sophomore year, then transferred to Virginia Tech, won the starting job at Virginia Tech, averaged 5 yards per carries on 173 attempts, scored 10 touchdowns. Then in his senior year, went over 1,000 yards, had 15 touchdowns, and he played in 2 less games his senior year than he did his junior year. His production and his traits has only improved every single year. I think he's kind of scratching the surface. I think he'll be a project player for a lot of teams. They'll see kind of what he can do and what he's done in his college career and the growth that they've seen from him from freshman to senior year. And there'll be a coach out there. There'll be a running back coach that wants to put their hands on him and kind of mold him to see if he can become an NFL running back. I just don't think he's day one ready to go. He's going to take some time. Might be a camp body, might be lower on the depth chart. But I've got at least a 5th round grade on him right now. Could be lower, but I do like him, and he's my number 10 guy. But having 10 running backs, Jake, in the top 5 rounds, that's actually a pretty deep class. You may not even get 10 guys drafted in a single draft class, nonetheless in the top 5 rounds.
Yeah, it's a deep class because you're going to, I haven't
even talked about Ollie Gordon. Haven't talked about Quentin Jackson from Arkansas. Mullings from Michigan. He'll probably get drafted.
Mullings in a lot of people's top 10. Neither of ours.
No.
But he's in a lot of people. My 9 and 10 are different than you. I don't have DJ Giddens or Tootin in there. Giddens, I liked it. I like that north-south running south. He had too many deficiencies.
He does have deficiencies.
And
he does.
Those can hold you back from even getting a chance in the NFL. And that was what held me back. I respect that you have him there, but there was too much that wasn't there for me.
Totally
my
fair.
Number 6 and tied with my number 5 is Devin Neal. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
I think he has a higher floor than Judkins, but a little bit lower of a ceiling.
Okay.
Because his production speaks for itself, his improvement, his ability to change his frame, like you were talking about. And for me, he screams he's going to be a Kansas City Chief. He grew up in Lawrence. He played at KU. Just go right down the road to Kansas City, where he would fit in perfectly, where they need a running back. And to me, he's a guy who could step in and be an impact player right away.
4-year starter at Kansas and went for 1,000 yards in 3 straight seasons.
Yeah, he's dynamic in the passing game. He can run in between the tackles. He can run, outside zone schemes. His ability to run between the tackles will decide how good he can be at the pro level. Just because he still is a little bit smaller, but he has built that frame out. And when he gets to the second level, he's dangerous. He runs with good balance, good patience. I really, really like Devin Neal. This was who I was teasing about, of who I was way higher on than a lot of people. And because to me, the tape, the production, and still having at least a good enough physical traits and metrics that will attract scouts. To me, it's just enough to make him up that high for me. Because I really think he could be an instant impact player in the NFL. Not saying necessarily a every down running back starter, but be an impact player on a team for sure. I think he could.
He kind of has like Tony Pollard skill sets to me.
And kind of a similar frame to Pollard.
Mm-hmm.
And Pollard before the injury, and even it took him a year to recover, but he just he had a good year at Tennessee, and so seems like he still maybe has some more gas in the tank.
Went for 1,000 yards for Tennessee this year.
And looked really explosive in some of those. And because sometimes it does take a full year to come back from some of those knee injuries. But yeah, I'm very high on Devin Neal. Next, I had Dylan Sampson, similar to you. Thought I was going to like him a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't turn out to be that good of a pro.
No.
I almost just put him lower, but then I was like, I don't want to be that far off of what like everyone else is saying, and end up looking like a complete idiot. So Devin Neal had 6.25 out of 10. I have another big drop here down to, I have a 5.7 for Sampson. He has some ball security issues. I think he fumbled, 4 times during the season. Make sure I wasn't getting him confused with someone else. I did a lot of film study today. A little bit of ball security issues, not to the same level as Jaden Blue, but I worry about him being able to run in between tackles. The biggest thing I liked about him was he's fairly patient, but he would still sometimes just miss the hole. And so there's some boom or bust to him, but just again, like you said, it seemed like his production really came just in creating a big run, and then having a lot of unproductive runs. And so I thought I was going to like him more than I did. Then I have Cam Scatterbo. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Not really high on him translating to the NFL. He could be one of those guys who has like a one-hit wonder season. Peyton Hillis. I hate to do the white running back thing, but I just,
if there's any season that a white running back's going to succeed, it'll be this one after the Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship. And you got Cooper Flagg coming in the NFL or in the NBA. Yeah, tides are turning.
He just doesn't have the speed to break away. His vision is good, but sometimes he does dance too much in the backfield. And my biggest thing with him is he's a volume carry running back. I don't know what teams are going to want to give him that volume.
No,
because he needs a lot of carries to get going. Just like the Texas game. People are like, well, he played really good against Tech. Yeah, he had an amazing second half. He was awful
he had 30
in the first
touches.
half. Yeah, he was awful in the first half. He was completely shut down. He was getting clowned, and then he was everyone's savior in the second half.
Yeah, he's not going to get 30 touches in probably ever in his career.
And so I have a hard time seeing it translate into the pros. I have him at a 5.5 out of 10. Next, I had Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. I've kind of liked him for a couple years now.
Yeah.
He's, a lot of production. He's a pretty patient runner. I think
I'll hand up. I need to watch Taj Brooks. I haven't gotten to him yet.
I was kind of in between like him, who I actually have at my 10, which is spoiler alert, Jordan James from Oregon. And DJ Giddens was right there with me. SMU running back, escaping my name right now, was also close to kind of breaking in that. What Taj Brooks, the reason he got in over Giddens, for example, for me, is just because I think he is a little bit more of a complete player than Giddens. Where Giddens has deficiencies, I think Brooks is at least capable in those areas. I think he's capable in every area. The problem is I don't know how high the ceiling is. I don't think he's necessarily, but I do think there's potential there to be, for a team that just really needs to put in a running back. He could probably come in and start for a team right away.
I think there's a role for him, whether that be second or third on the depth chart or early on in his career. I see him being a rotation guy by year 3 or 4.
Yeah. And he does, he is explosive. He is good out of the backfield. Like he can catch the ball well. He can run different routes. He's not a bad pass protector. He's pretty solid at being patient, trusting the blocks, running with balance.
I think he
does have some explosiveness.
He would do well at like a Houston Texans, kind of a rotation guy where they don't need him to be a superstar.
That's a good fit, actually, because his biggest thing is he just lacks speed that blows you away. He lacks, kind of that breakaway potential, but he is agile. He can make guys miss. He just seems like a player that has a chance to be a solid NFL player, and that's kind of what gave him the nod for me to jump up there. And then last, I have Jordan James. I was making sure 2 first names. I can't remember if I put it wrong because I put Dylan
James
Sampson
Jordan.
Yeah, no, it's Jordan James. Out of Oregon, he needs to be in a zone scheme. That's one of his weaknesses. Luckily, there's plenty of teams that do run zone. His frames, I mean, he's limited by his physical frame for as far as being an every down back. He has good vision, good patience. A lot of these running backs have really, I mean, the level of vision to me in this class, I was really impressed by.
I was impressed by the amount of discipline, patience from all of these backs. I'm like, man, they are really teaching this at a much younger age than they did. I mean, how many running back classes was it like this guy's just not, he's not patient enough. He just bulldozes right into the offensive line, doesn't let the offensive line develop a hole and develop the play before he runs through it. A lot of these guys, very good at that.
Yeah, the biggest thing I was disappointed with him is even though he's capable as a receiving back, at least in the Oregon system, his route tree from what I watched was pretty limited. He didn't do like a variety of things. And that was a little bit of a concern. This is a late round pick you're talking about. And so it's someone you bring in, you try to develop. There's traits there to build off of. I can completely get a DJ Giddens being in, above him, a Tootin being in above him. I just kind of gave him the nod because there were things I really liked when I watched his film. When he runs with a full head of steam, I mean, he will just run through someone. And he is able to make guys miss at the second level. I just worry about where exactly his role will be in the NFL, and that's why he's down there, at the 10th spot and being a later round pick. But to me, it's a pretty impressive group of running backs, but there is a clear headliner for me. I do have Ashton Jeanty a clear.
I think he's the only one. He's the only first round pick in this year's class.
I think he'll go top 20. I had
mentioned, a couple years ago with Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm like, look, if he's a late round pick, I could see it. Now, I didn't think Detroit would trade up to the 12th spot and get him at that point, but I had a first round grade on Gibbs. I've got 1 first round grade. I wouldn't be shocked if somebody took a risk, but I just don't see Hampton or Johnson or Henderson getting drafted in the first round. I just don't.
I think Hampton will go top of the second. I think Caleb Johnson has a chance. And this is all before the combine. People
pro days. Yeah.
People will see a hand size chart and go crazy.
That's true.
I don't nerd out on that stuff. And there are metrics of that you can look at and be like, well, players who are under this threshold almost are always bust.
I'm a what the film gives me guy. That's where I fall on it, So, but Jake, before we log off, let's go ahead. We'll wrap up running back draft talk. If you like that, please leave us a comment. If you're a draft nerd like we are, we'll go through the rest of the positions.
Leave your top 10 if you're a draft nerd too.
Or heck, or top 3, top 5. Do you agree, disagree? Who would you put in? Who did we not talk about? Ollie Gordon. And so, let's go ahead and finish this episode off, Jake. I'm running out of battery over here on my laptop. Texas Longhorns taking on South Carolina Gamecocks this week or today, later on this evening. Pretty straightforward, huh?
Win. I don't really care about style points at this point. Just win. But like this is a you should handle this. Well, yeah. I mean, if they lose this game, I'm so far out that I'm out. Yeah. Like I don't care if South Carolina beat Clemson in the non-conference. I don't care if they've been competitive at times in games. I don't care. You beat a team that is 0-13 in conference play. And that's just the bottom line. I mean, I don't care if it's on the road, whatever. They're on a 13-game losing streak. You're not losing that team. If you lose to this team, Rodney Terry should be fired before he's back in Austin.
Effective immediately. All right, Jake, quick prediction.
Yeah, I do think Texas wins this game. if this game wasn't important, you know, maybe it's a look ahead game and you just drop a stupid game. No, they know they have to win this
Yeah.
game, and they got to win at minimum 3 out of 5, but really need to be shooting to win 4 out of 5, if not 5 out of 5 to close the season. And so hopefully we get Chendall Weaver back. I don't know if I've seen an update on that yet, but I do think Texas will win this game. The offense has been kind of consistently putting up decent points as of late. I think they'll continue that. I think they'll score 86 points and maybe hold. I'll go 86-72 Texas.
82-65, Texas wins this one. And I do think we're going to start seeing some players getting a little bit healthier. I think the break helped them out a little bit, kind of figured some things out. But yes, need to get healthy, need to get Kaluma back, need to get Weaver back, and need this
Pryor played
Pryor.
limited minutes, hurt as well. I mean, they are banged up as banged up gets.
Yeah. And so, but get a little bit healthy towards this last final stretch, win these games. Make a little bit of a run, and maybe you get a fully healthy team by the time March Madness comes around. Maybe you win a couple games, and we're sitting here thinking, "Man, Sweet 16, that was a pretty fun season." Well, maybe not fun, but a season nonetheless. But
fun
Jake,
tournament.
Yeah. That's gonna do it for today's episode. I'm Jake Jimerson. That's Tanner Carlson. This is All In Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network, right here on YouTube, and where all podcasts can be heard. Again, your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.